Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is for you. Welcome back to a Division 2 video. With the new season active Into the Dark, we see a new PvE Dark Zone open up. One of the Dark Zones every single week will be PvE based and is connected to the season. Because this is a new addition to the game and the DZ still has a different rule set than we have normally in PvE, I want to go over a couple tips and tricks, especially to save you some exotics and or those canisters that we have to collect for our seasonal boost. And let's start with the most important one, the builds, because there is a big misconception about builds as we are going into a PvE DZ, but the PvP rule set still applies. And that means it will normalize your build. So if we look at this build and we go, for example, to our backpack of Striker, you will see that this risk management will give us an extra buff from 65% to 90%. If you now go back, you will see that we can switch on the PvP stats. You can also switch it on by going to your specialization, by going to options and then show normalized stats. When we switch this on, you will see that there is a little blue glow over the build itself, and this will now show you how the build will react within PvP. If we now go back to the backpack of Striker again and we scroll down, you will see that we go from 90% total to 40% total weapon damage at max stacks because the PvP normalization kicks in. That is exactly the same with all of our extra special gear, like for example with our prototype gear. If we go back and we press it to PvE stats again, if we go back to this backpack, we look at the Striker backpack, you will see this has 22.5% weapon damage, maxed out weapon damage, or maybe we can better choose this one, 19.3% weapon damage and 15.8% critical hit damage. This is all over the cap of the normal gear. The moment that we now view this in PvP stats again, and we go to that backpack, you will see that it's just 15% and 12%. This will be normalized. So yes, also the prototype gear will be set back to the max value of that high-end or gear set item. So make sure whenever you set up a build to check the PvP side of that build as well before you step into the toxic dark zone, because yes, it is PvE, but it will still have PvP rule set. So now that we know our builds will be normalized, we have to check the PvP stats before going into the PvE DZ. Let's talk about the PvE DZ itself real quick, as we have a weekly rotation, and this week it will be in DZ West. It will always be marked with this green biohazard sign, so you know that that is the PvE DZ, as the other two are still PvE VP. When we enter the PvE DZ, the Toxic DZ, you will see a bar building up and it has 5 different stages. These stages will apply a debuff to you and you can see those while opening up your map on the right side. And this will go all the way up to the 5th stage, that the enemies have a 15% chance when they hit you that they disorient you. And this toxicity level can always be removed by stepping out of the dark zone. In future updates, we will also see us cleansing ourselves in safe zones, but for now, you have to completely leave the dark zone, step out to then step back into it again to cleanse yourself of the toxicity. Next to the toxicity, we also have an alert level. We have alert level 1, 2, and a maximum of 3. And this tells you how many agents there are in the toxic dark zone. The higher the alert level, the more agents are on the map and the tougher the NPCs will become. So always keep your eye out on the alert level. If it's a high alert level like level 3, make sure to open up your map, See if you can find some other players to connect with, because those NPCs will be a lot tougher. If you're running around solo, don't try to be the hero and run into an heroic landmark yourself if the alert level is level 3. So now we know how to adjust our build, now we know how the toxic DZ will apply a debuff on us, and of course will raise the alert level with more SHD agents on the map. Let's talk about canisters. These are the materials that we can find within the PvE DZ and of course can use to donate to bring up our buffs for this season and of course get that specialized ammunition. When you're running around in the dark zone, you will get so many canister caches that your whole inventory will be full with it, and those extra 90 that you get while running around in the DZ, just use that to activate your active modifier. As when we open the modifiers, you will see that we have Fumona, for example, or however you like to pronounce that. You will see the description of the modifier itself. And then the second part, called search, will ask you to use the sample canister. So whenever you activate Fumona and you have sample canisters, search will activate as well and will buff this modifier. Staying on the topic of canisters and or munitions, we of course have our sample canister that we can trade in for munitions. This will give us 5 different boosts and will only ask us to donate sample canisters all the way up to 2400, what then will activate that extra 15% rate of fire. Whenever you have quality munitions, this will be active for you. And don't worry, the high quality munitions are magazines and are not bullets. So don't worry that it's only 146 bullets. This is 146 magazines. And that's pretty much the only thing that while you're playing you need to keep an eye on if you still have that high quality munitions. As if those munitions run out, you will run out of your boost. Like I mentioned earlier, you're getting a lot of sample canister caches, and I mean a lot. I have 53 caches like this, and as you saw, I'm already close to be maxed out, close to be those 2400. So again, don't worry about the sample canisters, but also, as you can see on top, it contains 15 sample canisters, but I'm already 90 out of 90. Please do not, I repeat, do not open up these caches if you're 90 out of 90. It will not drop on the floor. So do not open up a bunch of those caches because the cap is still 90. It's a little bit tedious opening up a couple sample canister caches to then walk back a couple meters to donate it again, but please do so. When you open up those sample canister caches and you're already 90 out of 90, everything will disappear. And on the topic of disappearing, if you are in the PvE DZ and you find an exotic, please do not deconstruct it. I repeat, do not deconstruct it within the dark zone. Pick it up, make sure that you get it out of the dark zone, and then when it gets to your stash, then you can keep it if you want to keep it, or of course deconstruct it and get that exotic component. The moment that you find an exotic within the dark zones and you deconstruct it right there on the spot, it will not give you anything. I would love to see that exotic component still has to be getting out of the DZ, but if you deconstruct an exotics within the dark zone, that exotic component will be gone. And the same thing kinda applies to gear and everything that you find within the dark zone. If you wanna get some dark zone credits, everything that you find, you have to deconstruct within the dark zone, so you then get some dark zone credits for it in your backpack that you can then extract. You will always have to extract the sample canister caches and then of course your dark zone credits as well. These, just like the sample canisters, will go to your mailbox within your stash, so always make sure that you're not 60 out of 60 caches in your mailbox, or else you will lose a bunch of sample canisters. And of course, make sure that you're not on 999 of the DZ credits before you claim them from your mailbox. You can keep them in your mailbox how long you want. And of course, whenever you need it, get it out, because there are a lot of extra caches being added, especially that exotic component cache. It will set you back 120 DZ credits, and you will get 4 exotic components back for it. And that is definitely something that I am gonna keep my eye on. But that is pretty much it. I wanted to give a couple tips and tricks, especially surrounding the exotics. I see and hear a lot of people not knowing about this, just like the builds being normalized and following the PvP rule set while we are in a PvE area. But hit me up in the comments down below if you have some more tips and tricks for the community, or did I forget something that the community definitely needs to know. But that's pretty much it for me today. Thank you very much for sticking until the end. Like the video if you liked the video or helped you out in any way or form. If you're new here and or you want to be updated by the Division 2, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. And I will see you in the next one. Pure Prime out.